Today I'm going to be speaking about Christmas time and the mob. Just as everyone is getting excited that Christmas is approaching, so does the mob. But Christmas for them symbolizes something very different, and that's money. The first Christmas party for the Brooklyn faction of the Lucchese family that I attended, I did as an associate. It was held in the restaurant Zio Totò, a few doors down from Big John's Cigar Vault. A few days before, he had mentioned the dinner to me and said, make sure you come. So on that night, I showed up at the restaurant. They had a table in the back with about 20 guys. But I was surprised because at some point after the dinner, Big John had Johnny Sideburns go around to everyone, including myself, and ask for $200 for the bill. And just so people understand, it's usually the captain whose crew it is who pays the tab. Let's not forget, on that night, Big John is collecting Christmas envelopes from everyone. Those envelopes are from members of the crew and associates as well. But typically, an associate would hand in his money to whatever member he's with. And members do expect associates to hand in envelopes at Christmas time. Please don't ask me how much they're handing in or whether or not there's a set amount, because it all depends on the member and what he expects from his guys. Now, as far as members themselves go, there is a set amount. However, if a guy wants to hand in more, that's his prerogative. After I became inducted, Joey DiBenedetto explained to me that that amount was $2,500 at Christmas time. But the day after our ceremony, I was in Staten Island with Big John, and he told me, you know, Mo, every Christmas you have to turn in $6,000. I jokingly responded, what happened? They raised it because of inflation? He just looked at me and he smiled. That's double the amount it's always been. I even went to Joey and Anthony Guzzo and asked them if John told them the same. And both of them said Big John told them the same exact thing. Let me break down what that equates to. Each captain is expected to hand in $10,000. Again, if a guy wanted to fatten his envelope, he was more than welcome to. So if you're a captain and let's say you have 10 guys in your crew, at $2,500 per guy, that's $25,000 you're collecting. So after turning in your $10,000, you're putting $15,000 in your pocket. Conversely, at $6,000 per guy, you're collecting $60,000. I don't think they raised the amount of $10,000 per captain, but for argument's sake, let's say they doubled it, you're still pocketing $40,000. I spoke to two other captains in the family regarding the Christmas money. The first one was Dom Trisella. He told me I usually take $1,000 per guy, but to be honest, most of the time I hand it in myself. I don't take any money from my guys. So whatever Dom's handing in at Christmas to the administration is strictly coming from him. And most of the time, like he said, his guys have a good Christmas because they don't have to hand in nothing. So here's a guy who has the same position as Big John, except he's not greedy. The second guy I spoke to was Joe Cafe, and he had a different answer than Dom. He said the reason why it was increased were guys were not reporting what they were making throughout the year. And that means whatever rackets that they got going on, loan sharking, gambling, shakedowns, etc., 10% of that money should be kicked up to their captain. And obviously that wasn't happening. So because most guys were only handing in Christmas money and a minimum at that, the administration realized that the yearly take was on the low end. And whatever that take came out to, and I don't know the number, 150,000 of it came right off the top. And that went to Vic Amuso's family for Vic. A lot of people question why is Vic still the boss and why didn't he step down? Well, that's your answer. Would you step away from a position that gives you 150,000 as a Christmas bonus? But anyway, back to the 6,000. Joey DiBenedetto or myself never handed in that amount. I believe Anthony did. Then there were the guys in our crew that Big John didn't ask for money, and one of them was Scotty Gervasi. Scotty was a guy who was straightened out with the Brooklyn faction while Big John was still an associate. So for whatever reason, he never asked Scotty for money. Scotty had a brother named Ronnie, who was also a member of the family, but he wasn't with our crew. I think he was with Joe Cafe, and back then, brothers were not allowed in the same crew. Big John's brothers, Spanky was with Joe Cafe, and Bubsy was with Anthony Blue in the Bronx. Years ago, on February 4th, 1994, an FBI agent who was parked in a White Castle parking lot observed Anthony Blue acting suspicious. He was looking around and then he threw 2 bags into a dumpster. Of course, when he left, the agent went and got the bags out, and they contained the bloody clothes from a stabbing that took place in Yonkers. Anyway, certain guys did skate at Christmas time because they weren't asked for money. The funny thing is, days after I joked with John about the inflation, he had asked to see me. And he told me he was upset about the comment that I made. So I asked him, if he was upset, why didn't he say anything the day it was said? And why did he smile after I said it? He told me that he told his brother Bubsy what I said, and that Bubsy told him that he shouldn't let me get away with talking like that. Now, mind you, on that day, before I seen Big John, I ran into Bubsy, who gave me a big hello, a kiss on the cheek. Bubsy would make a whole display when saying hello to someone, just in case the world was watching. And if they assumed we were wise guys, he wanted to leave no doubt. So when Big John's telling me this, all I keep thinking in my head is what a phony bastard Bubsy is. But to be honest, that's 80% of the guys in that life. So to end the conversation with Big John, again, I repeated that I was only kidding and that he should have came to me on his own. A little dig that he wasn't his own man, which is true. If he had an issue with anything I said, he should have pulled me to the side that day. Look, in that life, if you got a captain's position and you have to have somebody else tell you how to act, you got no business having that position. End of story. 2017 was the very last Christmas party I attended. It was held in Staten Island at Campagna's, a restaurant that's actually owned by a captain with the West Side, who I'll speak about in another video. Our dinner was being served in the party room at Campagna, which was a few doors down from the main restaurant. Parking was difficult that day. I remember I had to park 3 blocks away. And I noticed that an agent was parked right across the street from the restaurant. The FBI loves 2 things: wakes and Christmas parties. As you can see from this banana surveillance picture that was also taken at a Staten Island restaurant, in it are 2 members of the administration speaking with 2 of their captains. So at that last Christmas party, out of all of them, it was the largest one. Keep in mind, it was the first one after the transition, so we had a new administration. And Mikey DeSantis was there with his new acting boss position. At some point that night, Big John pulled me to the side and sang a very different tune. He basically told me that the guys in our crew could give whatever they could afford. So for some reason, he went from 2,500 to 6,000 and now to whatever we could afford. Another example of the inconsistencies of that life. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please remember to hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed, you can do that as well. If you think this video may be of interest to friends and family, please share it and thank you. I'll add a link to Ratchet Clothing's website down below in the description for anyone that wants to check them out. Okay, till the next time. You can subscribe to the Sit Down News blog at sitdownnews.com, and I appreciate everyone who has subscribed. Thank you. Well, just another example in the mob you never knew about. If you would like to subscribe to this channel, you can do so down below. If you would like to subscribe to my other channel, Unlimited Substance Podcast, I'll add a link in the description to this video.